Reviews. They're all over the place. Done by people who are either fans or non-fans of a certain movie, product, or idea. Reviews can be done by people who are followers, admirers, or enthusiastic fanatics of these movies, products, and ideas. However, reviews can also be done by people who are skeptics, doubters, and one of our favorite words we like to use when describing a person who dislikes something for the hell of it, haters. But despite all that, what is a reviewer? There's different ways to answer this. For the sake of this video, we're going to stick to one, my own answer. A person that judges something through an opinion that is only felt by them and agreed with by those that feel the same way. Now I know my definition is flawed, especially since I left out how people will review something in a negative way, not because they feel a certain way about it, but because they simply want to hate. But as long as people have the right to review, they have the right to hate as well. Are reviewers right or wrong? Neither. What prevents a reviewer from being right or wrong? One simple word: opinion. Let's say I'm not very fond of shooters and that fighting is the best genre. Am I right? No. Why? Because I'm pretty sure some of you out there are fan of shooters and may not like fighting games. So does that make me wrong then? No, it doesn't. Why? Because I'm pretty sure some of you out there do like fighting games and may not be very fond of shooters. Most of you may know who these two are. Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. Two of the most respected critics in the world. Now I know it's disrespectful to compare these two to the lame game reviewers, but there's a point to be made here. Were these two always right when they critiqued a movie? No. Were they always wrong? Of course not. They were just two people who gave their opinions on movies. As their viewer, you either agreed with them or you didn't. But let's change things around. Let's go from movies to games. And let's change Siskel and Ebert to IGN and GameSpot. Are they always right when they talk about a specific game? I think you know where I'm going with this. Now my question to you is, can reviews from companies like IGN and GameSpot really have an effect on how people see and purchase games? Ask yourself this: if you are a fan of simulation racing and you hated shooters, and IGN told you that Halo Reach is better than Gran Turismo 5 because Halo Reach got a higher score than Gran Turismo 5 did, does that mean you have more fun with Halo Reach than you would with Gran Turismo 5? Despite your dislike for shooters? No. What's that? Not a fair comparison because both games are completely different genres? Very well then. If IGN said that Halo Reach is better than Killzone 3 or Call of Duty Black Ops or GoldenEye, and gave it a higher rating, does that mean that person will actually have more fun with Halo Reach? No. Does that mean a person will buy Halo Reach over the other three? No. Who the hell gave IGN or GameSpot or Metacritic the final say in the game? Nobody. Why? Because they're regular people who give their opinion, be it biased or not, on a particular game. They're not an advanced alien race that's come to Earth to destroy gaming by giving games lower review scores than what we think they should have, so that they can ruin a console's popularity with the world and prevent people from buying games on said console, thus destroying the image of the companies making those consoles and putting them out of business by lowering their sales and forcing them into bankruptcy. They're regular people with regular opinions. They aren't any different than any of us telling people a game is fun or a game sucks. Yes, I'm aware that they have more credibility as reviewers than any of us do, but they're still just people who make opinions about games. Look around YouTube and watch people review. You'll notice that they'll tell you anyone who listens to reviewers are idiots. Then what do? They review a game and tell you either to get it or don't. What happens after that? They wonder why people won't listen to them. A lot of people who try to review on YouTube end up losing their credibility and get labeled as a fan and have no idea why. If IGN were to give Halo a perfect score, and a person who doesn't like shooters that much plays it, guess what? It isn't all that damn perfect, is it? If IGN says Halo is better than Killzone and you enjoy playing Killzone more than Halo, guess what? Halo isn't better than Killzone, is it? So the review score is pointless. So why do review scores bother so many people? I have a hypothesis on this. Tell me if I'm correct in my assumptions or not. A lot of people, especially on YouTube, use review scores not as facts or opinions, but as attacks against other people and their preference. This is mainly for games and not consoles. Because of this, a lot of people will say review scores don't matter, while at the same time, reviewing a game and telling people they should get it or not. They will also say people who listen to review scores are idiots, but at the same time, get angry at a review score, thus listening to it themselves instead of blowing it off, making them an idiot by their own definition. When a game a particular person likes doesn't get the score they want, or think it should have gotten, then the review and the review score doesn't matter. If a game that same exact person likes gets a high review score, then that score is used as a reason why the game that person likes is a good game. Since a lot of people on YouTube are aware of this, they then use review scores as weapons against people that they know will get angry, even though they too know review scores don't really matter. Listen, don't let people use review scores as an attack against you, and have you make a fool of yourself while they sit back and laugh. If you want people to stop using review scores as an attack against you, you have to show them that you don't really care about review scores. You can't say review scores don't matter, only when the score isn't in your favor. So tell me, was my hypothesis close? Or am I way off and need to get my facts straight? Now it's not to say that I don't understand how a lot of you may feel. I understand that some of you make me concerned or even afraid of what IGN or GameSpot or Metacritic does, because you think there are people out there who really do base their purchases on what these reviewers say. And you know what? I'm almost guaranteed there are people out there that really do listen to these reviewers, but that isn't the fault of the reviewer, that's the fault of the person listening to the reviewer. Think of all the people on YouTube who say, buy an Xbox 360, buy a Nintendo Wii, buy a PS3. I'm sure there are some people who actually listened to them and got one. There are people telling them to buy this stuff to force them to, and if people buy something you don't like, too bad, get over it. A lot of us are adults now, we're spending our own money, and because of that a lot of people may be too afraid to take a chance on a game, and instead rely on review scores. And yes, I'm aware this could affect game sales, but in the gaming world, if sales don't matter, then review scores that could affect sales shouldn't either. There will always be things people like that others say aren't that good. If IGN or GameSpot says game A isn't as good as game B, and you tell a friend of yours IGN or GameSpot doesn't know what they're talking about, and that game A is 10 times better than game B, and your friend listens to you and gets game A, but ends up not having as much fun with game A as they would have had with game B, then you and your friend look like fools. You look like one because you didn't think about what type of game your friend likes, and you only told your friend game A was better because IGN said it wasn't. You weren't thinking about what your friend liked, you were thinking about what you liked. It's time to bring out a case of hypocrisy. Let's say you hated shooters, but you bought Killzone 3 on release because you wanted to try it out, and liked it. You knew even though you didn't like shooters that much, there had to be at least one shooter out there for you, and Killzone 3 is that shooter. Despite what people say about the controls, you have no problem whatsoever with them, but that's just you. Can you say Killzone 3 is better than Halo? Well, for you, yeah, because you tried Halo and hated that game. According to IGN, Halo is better than Killzone 3. To you, IGN is sadly mistaken, along with GameSpot and Metacritic. But guess what? Let's see how long it takes for people to start using the score against PS3 fans. Not because they really care about the score, but because they will like the reaction. Killzone 3 is fine as long as you enjoy it. It doesn't matter what IGN or GameSpot or Metacritic say. What matters is what you think. If what others say makes you question what you like, then there's a chance you didn't like it in the first place. Now I've heard a lot of people talk about Wii and PS3 conspiracy. And at first it sounded pretty stupid for two reasons. One, I've never heard of a video game conspiracy. Two, it sounded more like a cheap reason for people to get their favorite console noticed. Before I made this video, I watched and read a lot of reviews from games on all three consoles. And after I was done, I actually saw where a lot of people were coming from. It did seem like a conspiracy. Little things were nitpicked from PS3 and Wii that weren't picked from 360 games. It was as if instead of talking about the good, these reviewers were only looking for the bad. And when they couldn't find anything bad, they ended up nitpicking little tiny things, and disguising those things as major problems and reasons not to buy a game. Meanwhile on the 360, the big problems were seen as no big deal. And not enough to ruin the excellent experience the game gives you. And then I realized a lot of people were right. And then I laughed. I laughed because these reviewers ended up sounding exactly like the people on YouTube who constantly defend their games do. I then realized all three sides were biased. The only difference was 360's side had IGN, GameSpot, and Metacritic on their side, while the other two only had themselves. Is there a conspiracy? Yes, and everyone is a part of it. Everyone is telling the world that their console is better than everyone else. Everyone is telling the world that game A on their console is better than game B on the other console. So in a way, doesn't that kind of cancel out the whole conspiracy? In the end, I can see where a lot of people are coming from. Even though a lot of us can be hypocrites sometimes, we don't do it intentionally. It happens when we want to prove a point. It happens when we want to get a point across. And one thing we say goes against something we said in the past, because we didn't realize that trying to prove one point can end up disproving another point on accident. It's quite obvious that review companies like IGN don't know what they're saying half the time, and all they do is nitpick every little unimportant thing. But when other people say that IGN doesn't know what they're talking about, and those people's reviews involve them doing the exact same thing, they not only give a reason not to listen to IGN or GameSpot or Metacritic, they also give people a reason not to listen to them. I know I can't stop people from defending what they like, and I'm not going to be stupid enough to try to. But remember that people are using scores and reviews as attacks, and a lot of you are letting it get to you. Believe me, I know we can't help ourselves sometimes. Sometimes people will say something that makes you think, wow, is this idiot serious? And we can't help but try and prove that person wrong. Then we feel much better afterwards. But don't let it get to the point where others are simply making a fool out of you. If you say a certain game is badass and IGN says, it ain't all that good, so what? As biased as they could be, they're just people like us giving an opinion on a game. Hell, some people that complain about a review a game got only seem to listen to anything negative, while completely ignoring the positives. The game could be praised, and once one little negative thing gets brought up, they go crazy. Don't you think that's going a little overboard? It doesn't matter what reviewers say, and that includes us. If we like a game and give it a positive review, that's only because we feel that way, not because the rest of the world does. And no reviewer can change how we feel about a game we like. The word of the day is opinion.